The desert held its breath. Dust curled over the horizon like a veil of ghosts. A blood-orange sun hung low, casting long, mean shadows across the cracked earth. Somewhere a crow cried. The wind carried no mercy, just the sound of hooves, pounding, urgent. Calder Rourke rode like something was chasing him, though there was nothing behind him but silence. A canvas duster flapped around his legs, stained with travel and old blood. His hat was pulled low, shadowing eyes the color of dying coals. The rifle across his back had seen better days. So had he. Ahead, a dry creek bed twisted like a broken spine. He reined in, spotting something near the water. No, someone. A body. He swung down, boots hitting dirt hard, and jogged to the edge. A man lay there, face blistered from sun, shirt soaked with blood. Cal touched the pulse, still there barely. The man's lips moved. Don't let her. Cal leaned closer. Who? The man's eyes flickered open. A whisper. They're coming. Cal scanned the ridge. No one. Not yet. He hoisted the man onto his horse, tied him down with a spare rope, and began walking alongside, heading toward the only place for miles that might have a doctor, the town of Dead Elm. They reached the outskirts by dusk. The town hadn't grown any softer in his years away. Sun-beaten storefronts lined a crooked main street like teeth in a drunkard's grin. Signs hung limp. The church bell was cracked. The saloon never stopped leaking music and misery. And the people, still suspicious, still pale-eyed and slow to forget. Cal's boots thudded along the boards as he led the horse toward the doc's place. He ignored the whispers, the sharp hush of conversation as folks recognized him. A child peered out from behind her mother's skirt and was yanked away. He knocked on the physician's door, waited, then banged again. Doc Merton opened with a grunt. Well, damn me. Rourke. He's alive, Cal said. Barely. The doctor grumbled but ushered the man inside. Cal stood outside, jaw tight. A few townsfolk had gathered, trying to look without looking. One man spit on the ground. You still dragging trouble behind you? He asked, too loud. Cal met his eyes. You want to be next? The man stepped back. Cal's reputation still did some of the talking. Gramps Talbot shuffled over from the saloon, whiskey on his breath and wisdom in his bones. Long white beard, eyes like a vulture that had seen everything and cared about nothing. Well, I'll be, he said, grinning through two teeth. Back from the dead, are we? Cal grunted. Didn't know I died. Some folks hoped. I know. Gramps leaned in. You stayin', or is this just a quick visit? Depends. On? Cal looked at the doctor's door. What he tells me when he comes back out. A moment passed. Gramps chuckled. Still talk like you got gravel in your throat. Still drink like you're trying to pickle yourself? Gramps laughed, loud and sudden. A couple onlookers jumped. Come on then. Let's wet your tongue while we wait. Cal followed him into the saloon. It was like every other place like it. Stale smoke, bad piano, cards slapping against wood. But it had walls, and right now that was enough. He didn't drink. Just sat and waited. It wasn't long before the saloon doors burst open with a gust of dust and chaos. A horse-drawn wagon had careened into town and smashed into a hitching post, scattering planks and panicking horses. A woman tumbled out, half falling, half leaping. She scrambled to her feet, hands bloodied, hair tangled. A rifle slung awkwardly over one shoulder, dress torn near the hem. But her eyes, sharp as flint, desperate, defiant. The town froze. The piano stopped. Cal was on his feet before he realized it. She backed away from the wreck, scanning the crowd like she expected a bullet any second. I need help, she shouted. Please? No one moved. A man coughed. Someone muttered, she's trouble. Cal stepped forward. She turned toward him, breathing hard. They're right behind me. You have to. Who's behind you? Cal asked, calm but firm. She shook her head. I don't know names. Just men. Bad ones. I saw what they did and now they want me quiet. A gun clicked nearby. Marshal Everett Dole had arrived. Step away from her, Rourke, he drawled, sauntering through the crowd like he owned it. Which, in a way, he did. Cal didn't move. She's not holding a weapon. Yet. Let me handle this. Dole was the kind of man who smiled with all his teeth and none of his soul. Uniform crisp. Badge clean. Eyes like dead glass. Cal turned to the woman. What did you see? She hesitated. A man killed in cold blood. My husband tried to stop it. They shot him. I ran. Dole raised an eyebrow. Mighty convenient story. Got a name, Marshal? Cal asked. She didn't give one. Then maybe we listen before we judge. Don't talk to me about judgment, half-blood. The word slapped like a whip crack. The crowd tensed. Cal didn't flinch. You want to lock her up? He asked. Until we know who she is, yes. She's got bruises and a wrecked wagon. Sounds like she needs help. She can get that in a cell. The woman stepped closer to Cal. You're the only one looking me in the eye. He looked at her, really looked. Dirt on her cheek. Blood on her sleeve. But her spine was steel. She wasn't crying. Not yet. What's your name? He asked. Nora, she lied. And he let her. Dole scoffed. Well, Nora, let's not make a fuss. Cal stepped in front of her. She's not going with you. The marshal's hand went to his hip. You planning to make this difficult? Not yet. The saloon held its breath. Gramps appeared again, leaning in the doorway like he'd been waiting for this drama all day. Might be you want to think twice, Everett, he called. Man just saved another from the brink earlier. You'd lock him up too. Dole hesitated. Calculating. Finally he exhaled. Fine. She's your problem, Rourke. If she brings fire, it'll burn you first. He turned and walked away. Cal let the tension drain just a bit. Come on, he told Nora. They walked past whispering mouths and narrowed eyes. She limped slightly, favoring her left ankle. He slowed to match her step. They didn't speak until they reached the doctor's house again. Why'd you do that? She asked quietly. He looked ahead. Didn't like the way he looked at you. That all? No. What then? He stopped, turned to face her. I've seen a lot of dying. Some of it needed. Most of it didn't. You look like someone who's seen it too. And you didn't look ready to stop fighting yet. She blinked, then nodded. You're not what I expected. Most people say that just before they stop trusting me. She smirked, despite herself. What's your name? Cal. Thank you, Cal. He nodded. She looked like she wanted to say more, but the doctor's door opened. The wounded man was gone. Did he say anything? Cal asked. Doc hesitated. Not much, but he was scared. Real scared. Cal turned toward the horizon. The air was heavy. He could feel something coming. He didn't know who the woman really was or who was chasing her. But he knew what fear looked like. He'd worn that face before. And if danger was riding in, he'd meet it. Because maybe, just maybe, the only way to stop being what they called him was to prove them wrong. Not with words, but with action. And a loaded gun. The wind picked up again. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled, though the sky was clear. The moon hung like a silver coin over the canyon as Cal led Nora's new horse down the slope. The trail was narrow, the silence stretched tight between them. Only the shifting of hooves on gravel and the distant cry of a nightbird broke the stillness. She hadn't spoken much since they left Dead Elm. Cal didn't press her. People needed time before they were ready to bleed their truths. He knew that too well. Still, he watched her from the corner of his eye, the way she kept glancing over her shoulder, the way her fingers hovered near the rifle strapped behind her. Even when the danger was far, she behaved like it was one breath away. They made camp near a cluster of sandstone pillars that jutted from the earth like broken teeth. Cal gathered dry mesquite, lit a small fire with flint, and offered her some jerky. She took it, sat opposite him, and stared into the flames like she expected them to whisper secrets. You sleep? He asked. Not in 2 days. You should. I can't. He chewed slowly. You keep running, or did something finally give out? Nora looked up. Her eyes caught the firelight, and for a second she looked less like prey and more like someone who'd learned to be a weapon. They torched a stage near Castle Butte. Everyone on board. They were looking for someone. Me, I think. I was supposed to be on it. Cal didn't react. Just waited. My husband, he was a cattle broker. Smart. Too smart, I guess. He found out someone was stealing land deeds, replacing them with fakes, rerouting water. The kind of theft that looks legal on paper. He brought it to a man he thought was honest. Her voice cracked. Marshal Dole. Cal's jaw tightened. He smiled while shaking his hand. Then 2 days later, my husband was dead in a mining accident that never happened. I found papers in his saddlebag. Names. Details. Stamped documents. I ran. Those papers with you now? She shook her head. Hidden. Somewhere I didn't even tell myself. He leaned forward slightly. Then why come to Dead Elm? It's practically Dole's back porch. I wasn't thinking. Just remembered the name from something my husband said. If you ever need someone who ain't afraid of blood, find Rourke in Dead Elm. I didn't even know if it was true. Cal poked the fire with a stick. Funny. Most folks come looking for me want the opposite. They sat in silence. The fire cracked, sending sparks into the night. "You believe me?" she asked. "If I didn't, I wouldn't be here." Her breath shuddered out. "Then why aren't you asking more questions?" "I figure when people are ready, they talk. And when they're not, poking just makes them bleed." She stared at him for a long time. "What did they do to you?" Cal didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Another time." A distant sound broke the quiet. Hooves. Faint but approaching fast. Cal rose instantly, hand on his revolver. Nora stood all nerves. "How many?" "Hard to say. But it's not a wagon." He pulled her away from the firelight. They moved fast, ditching the horses under a rock overhang. Cal whispered, "Stay here. Don't shoot unless you see a face you're sure ain't mine." She nodded, gripping her rifle like it was the only solid thing in her world. Cal crept up the ridge, boots soft on sand. He lay flat near a low outcrop and scanned the canyon floor. 3 riders. Black coats. Moving with purpose. Too quiet for drunks, too sure for scouts. They stopped near the fire. One dismounted, examined the still smoking embers, then turned to the others. "He was here. Not long ago." The voice was sharp, Eastern educated. The man moved like someone used to ordering lives and taking them. "Which way?" another asked. He pointed toward the slope Cal had led Nora up not 10 minutes ago. Cal's fingers curled around the revolver's grip. He could take them now. But the noise would bring others. These weren't stragglers. They were the tip of a spear. He crawled back, silent as breath, and tapped Nora's shoulder. "We go. Now." She didn't ask. Just moved. They took a side trail, one Cal had used back when he'd scouted for the army. It twisted through box canyons and switchbacks too narrow for more than one rider. The horses struggled, but they kept moving. After an hour, they reached a gulch where an old mining shack leaned against a cliff wall. Cal kicked open the door, cleared it, then ushered Nora inside. "Safe for now," he said, setting a lantern on a barrel. Nora collapsed on a crate, wiping her forehead. "That was close." Cal said nothing. He took watch at the door, peering into the dark. She watched him. "You were a soldier?" "No. But you fought. More than I wanted. You move like you've been hunted before." "I have." She looked down at her hands. "I don't know how to do this. Survive. What? Hide. You're doing fine. I'm tired of being scared." He turned toward her. "Then stop running." "What's the other option?" "We make a stand. Take the fight to them. Expose what your husband found. Turn the table." She looked at him like he'd offered her the moon. "How?" "We don't win with bullets. We win with truth. That evidence, we need it." She hesitated. "It's near Dry Hollow. In a storm cellar under a burned-out cabin. I left it there before I came to Dead Elm." Cal nodded. "Then we ride at first light." She watched him for a while longer, then finally asked the question that had been burning behind her eyes since they met. "Why are you helping me?" He didn't answer right away. "When I was 15, he said finally, a girl in my village was taken by a railroad foreman. Drunk. Thought he could buy what he wanted with bullets and bribes. I tried to stop him." "Did you?" "I killed him. Army came. Said I murdered a civilized man. Branded me. Called me savage." He looked at her then, eyes steady, not looking for pity. "Since then no one's asked me why I draw my gun. Just assumed I always wanted to." She was quiet. "Then, you were the only one who didn't look at me like I was filth." Cal almost smiled. "You weren't crying. That told me enough." Outside the night crept on. Coyotes yipped far off. The desert whispered secrets through the cracks in the boards. Cal sat by the door, gun across his lap, eyes alert. Nora settled back, finally letting her body rest. "If we don't make it." "We will. But if we don't, I'm glad it's you riding beside me." He didn't say anything, but the tightness in his shoulders eased. And for the first time in days she slept. Cal stayed awake, watching the horizon through the cracks, waiting for the first glint of danger, or dawn. Either way he was ready. The morning broke in layers of red and gold, as if the sky itself had bled during the night. Cal stood outside the shack, watching the sun claw its way over the mesa. He didn't move, didn't speak. He was listening, not just with his ears, but with the instincts honed from years of staying one step ahead of bullets. Behind him, Nora emerged with her coat drawn tight. Her face was lined with fatigue, but her eyes held a new clarity. The sleep had given her something back, maybe not peace but enough nerve to face the road ahead. "We ride now?" she asked. He nodded. "Every second we waste they close in." They mounted up, keeping off the main trail. Cal guided them east, cutting across dry riverbeds and through narrow rock passes. The path to Dry Hollow wasn't straightforward. He knew that was a blessing. It meant it wasn't easy to follow. By mid-morning the heat began to claw at them. The air shimmered, and mirages danced on the horizon. Nora didn't complain. Not once. She rode hard, shoulders square, eyes sharp. The woman who had stumbled into Dead Elm afraid and desperate was still there, but now, layered beneath her fear, was a burning resolve. As they paused beneath a mesquite tree to water the horses, Cal handed her a canteen. "You hold up better than most," he said. She took a long drink, then wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. "I don't get the luxury of falling apart." He watched her, the curve of her jaw set against the grit of survival. "Good," he said. "You'll need every edge." They rode on. Dry Hollow came into view as the sun leaned toward afternoon. It was a scar of a place. Abandoned cabins, rusted machinery, broken fences swallowed by dust. Once it had been a thriving ranching outpost. Now it was a skeleton. Nora slowed. Her eyes scanned the landscape like she was reading an old diary. "There," she said, pointing to a blackened husk of a cabin near a rock wall. "It's under the floorboards." They dismounted. Cal moved in first, revolver drawn, every step calculated. Inside, the air smelled of char and memory. The roof had caved in, sunlight spilling through broken beams. Nora followed, moving carefully toward a corner of the room. "This one," she said, kneeling. She pried up a warped board with shaking hands, revealing a tin box beneath layers of ash and sand. She opened it. Inside, a leather journal, 2 folded maps, and a thick envelope sealed with wax. Her breath caught. "It's all here." Cal watched the door. "Then we move, now." They barely made it 3 steps before the first bullet tore through the window and buried itself in the far wall. "Down!" he shouted, grabbing her shoulder and yanking her to the floor. More shots followed, cracking the silence apart. Cal peered through a gap in the wall. 3 men, rifles drawn, advancing from the ridge. Black coats again. Same precision. No shouting. No cowboy theatrics. Just kill and leave. He took aim and fired once. Clean, deliberate. One of the men dropped like a stone. Nora crawled toward the back door, clutching the box. "There's a path behind the cabin. Leads down to a ravine." "Go," Cal ordered. "I'll hold them. You can't take 2 alone." He looked at her. Not planning to die. Just planning to make him wish they'd picked someone dumber to hunt. She hesitated, then nodded. "Don't be a hero." "I'm not. Heroes get statues. I'm just buying time." She slipped out the back. Cal moved to the front window and waited. One of the remaining gunmen darted toward the porch. Cal let him think he was safe, then fired through the wall. Wood splintered and the man screamed, collapsing. Only one left. Cal moved low, shifted positions, scanned for movement. The last one was smarter. He was circling, trying to flank. Cal crept outside using the shadows. He heard a boot scuff gravel, turned and fired. Too late. The gunmen tackled him, both of them crashing into the dust. They rolled, fists swinging, dirt choking the air. Cal landed a blow that split the man's lip, but pain flared in his ribs as a knee caught him hard. The gunman pulled a knife. Cal grabbed the wrist, twisted, felt the bones shift, then slammed the man's head against the ground. Once. Twice. The man went limp. Cal staggered up, breathing hard, shirt torn, knuckles bloody. He didn't waste time. He grabbed what weapons he could carry and ran. He found Nora where the ravine met a dried creek. She stood with the box clutched to her chest, wild-eyed. "You're bleeding," she said. "Just scratches." "Did you kill them?" "Didn't come here to make friends." She looked down at the journal in her hands. It's enough. Names. Locations. Ledgers. This could break them. Only if we get it into the right hands." "Who?" she asked. "Dole owns half the circuit judges between here and Prescott." "There's one man," Cal said. "Judge Langdon. Retired Army. Doesn't owe Dole a damn thing. He lives out past Juniper Ridge. That's 2 days' ride. We'll go at night. Rest in shade when we can. And pray no one else picks up our trail." She reached into the box and pulled out the journal. She flipped through it, her fingers lingering on a page. "There's more here," she whispered. "More than I remembered." Cal looked over her shoulder. The page held a list of transactions, signed by names he recognized. Men with influence. Men who spoke in dollars and dictated futures from their high-backed chairs. "They'll kill anyone who reads this," she said. "They already tried." She closed the book. "Then let's make sure it was for something." They camped beneath an overhang that night. Cal built no fire. Just dry bread, silence, and the dull throb of their bruises. The stars scattered across the sky like shattered glass. Nora lay on her side, her hand resting on the box. I used to think justice was something you asked for. It's not, Cal murmured. It's something you bleed for. Then maybe, just maybe, someone listens. She rolled to face him. Why they call you savage? Because it made it easier to hang the truth on someone like me. You're not savage. He didn't respond. You're the only man who ever looked at me like I wasn't already a ghost. Her voice cracked. Even my husband, God rest him, couldn't see past the danger I brought with me. You're not danger, Cal said. You're the reckoning. She almost smiled, but her eyes shimmered. Get some sleep, he said. We move before dawn. She didn't sleep, not right away. But eventually her breathing slowed. Cal sat watch, gun resting across his lap. The weight of what they carried pressed heavy on his shoulders. Not just the documents, but the truth they contained. Could shake men from power. It could also get them both buried in unmarked graves. But he'd made his choice. They wouldn't run forever. They'd burn it all down first. The morning arrived in a hush. No birdsong. No breeze. Just the slow, rising light, as if the desert itself was holding its breath. Cal stirred the horses quietly, tightening saddlebags and checking every strap and weapon with a soldier's precision. Nora hadn't spoken yet. Her silence was more than fatigue. It was the silence of someone preparing for something that couldn't be undone. She mounted without a word. Cal didn't ask if she was ready. He knew she wasn't. No one ever was. They cut through the canyon trails east of Dry Hollow, riding hard and low. Cal avoided open ground, weaving between crags and dead arroyos, ever watching the ridges. Twice he saw dust rising in the distance, riders moving fast. They weren't alone out here. He didn't mention it to her. There was no point. She felt it too. By midday the sun was a white hammer overhead. They stopped beneath a dry bluff, shadows long against the stone. Nora drank, wiped sweat from her brow, and asked the question Cal knew was coming. What if Langdon won't help us? Cal leaned back against the stone, scanning the horizon. Then we find someone else. But he's the only one I trust to read the truth and not bury it. She opened the box again, pulling out one of the maps. Her finger traced an inked route, supply lines rerouted, wells redirected. They took everything, she whispered. Land, water, livestock, lives. And no one stopped them. They didn't take it. They bought it with fear. People looked the other way because it was easier than fighting. Not anymore. Cal looked at her. Her voice had changed. Less tremble, more steel. Whatever happens, he said, you walk in there standing tall. Don't let Langdon see doubt. I won't. He nodded, then stood. Ride's only a few more hours. Let's move. They approached Juniper Ridge just as the sun began its slow descent. The land changed, green scrub mingling with tall, dry grasses. Pines appeared, sparse at first, then thicker, the scent of sap and dust hanging in the air. Langdon's place sat atop a hill, wrapped in a leaning fence and stubborn trees. A stone chimney puffed thin smoke. The house wasn't large, but it was solid. Cal halted just inside the treeline, studying the layout. He's alone, Cal said. Always has been. Doesn't keep hired men. Doesn't need to. You know him well? We fought in the same unit during the Ute campaign. He saw what command did to honest men. Walked away from it. Nora adjusted her coat and slid the journal into her saddlebag. Then let's hope he still believes truth's worth bleeding for. They approached slowly. A dog barked once from the porch, an old mutt with cloudy eyes. A moment later, the door creaked open. A tall, lean man with a white beard and a rifle cradled in his arms stepped out. His eyes narrowed as he took them in. Rourke? His voice was rough gravel, shaped by whiskey and war. Judge. Langdon lowered the rifle. Well, hell. Thought you were dead or close to it. Got better. Langdon stepped down. Who's the lady? Nora dismounted. Nora Thatcher. Thatcher. Name rings loud these days. You're the widow who vanished after the land grab hearings. I didn't vanish. I ran. There's a difference. Langdon's brows lifted. Fair enough. You folks carrying ghosts with you? Cal nodded. 3 riders followed us near Dry Hollow. Left him in the dust, for now. Langdon opened the gate. Best come inside. Anyone hunting you will be here by dusk. Inside, the house smelled of pipe smoke and pine. Books lined the shelves. A worn map of Arizona territory stretched across one wall, dotted with pins. Cal noticed a Winchester hanging above the fireplace, polished and ready. Nora placed the journal and documents on the table. This is why they're chasing us. Langdon sat slowly, flipping through pages. The room fell quiet. Only the ticking of a mantel clock marked time. He read without comment. 10 minutes passed. 15. Finally he looked up. Dole's been gutting this territory piece by piece. But this is more than corruption. This is treason. Nora's hands curled into fists. Can you do something with it? Langdon nodded slowly. I still have friends in Yuma. Federal ones. I can get this to them. It'll take a few days, but if it checks out, and I believe it will, there'll be indictments. Maybe more. But we don't have days, Cal said. No, you don't. Langdon stood and pulled a map from his shelf. There's a mail courier depot 20 miles north, Fox Hollow. They've got a telegraph line and a fast pony run. If we can get this there by morning, we can send copies ahead and move the originals to safe hands. Cal looked at Nora. You up for one more ride? She nodded. I came this far. I'm not stopping now. Langdon started copying the documents, moving fast. I'll draw up a dispatch note. Ride hard and quiet. And Rourke. Cal looked up. If you don't make it, tell God I did what I could. We'll make it. They left under starlight. The moon was a thin crescent, barely enough to light the trail. Fox Hollow was 20 miles over rough terrain, but Cal knew the path. Nora rode close behind, the leather box strapped to her saddle like a newborn. Around midnight they passed a dry creek, and Cal pulled up hard. He dismounted, crouching low. His hand touched a fresh hoofprint. Still warm. We're not alone, he said. Nora's breath caught. How many? Hard to say. Could be 4. Could be 10. What do we do? He looked at the sky, measuring time. We cut through Black Ridge. It's slower but tighter. Less room for them to ride us down. They changed course. The ridge was steep, littered with boulders and thorned mesquite, but it offered cover. They moved fast, silent like ghosts. A shot cracked the air. Too close. They ducked low. Cal drew his revolver, eyes scanning the dark. Shapes moved in the trees above, just glimpses but enough. Keep going, he growled. I'll draw 'em off. No. He turned to her, voice sharp. You get that evidence to Fox Hollow or all this was for nothing. I'll find you after. She opened her mouth, but something in his eyes stopped her. I believe in you, he said softly. Now ride. And she did. She vanished into the trees like wind through branches. Cal turned and fired into the dark, a bark of fire and noise. He moved quickly, drawing them toward him, forcing them to follow the threat instead of the truth. Shots echoed. Shouts followed. But no screams. No victory. He kept moving, always one step ahead, vanishing like smoke. Nora didn't look back. Her horse flew over the trail, heart pounding beneath her like a war drum. The land blurred. Trees. Rocks. Fear. Then just before dawn, the roof of Fox Hollow appeared. She galloped in, dismounted with a stumble, and pounded on the door. A man opened it, eyes wide. I need the telegraph, she said, breath ragged. I have something that'll bring the whole damn house down. He stepped aside. She stepped in. And the tide began to turn. The telegrams flew faster than the sun could rise. By the time the light crested the hills behind Fox Hollow, the truth Nora carried had begun its journey, north to Yuma, east to Santa Fe, and west to military officials still loyal to law over greed. Each wire snapped with tension, each word carrying the weight of names that had long lived untouchable. She stood at the operator's side, watching his fingers dance over the key like he was spelling salvation one letter at a time. When he finished, he looked up with sweat on his brow. It's out. All of it. Your man, he better get here soon. Her breath caught. Go. The moment she'd ridden away, a part of her had splintered. Leaving him behind had felt like abandoning the only man who ever saw her as whole. The man who'd bled and fought without needing thanks or promise. Just purpose. Outside, dawn was waking the world, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She paced the wooden platform outside the station, eyes raking the horizon. Nothing. No hoofbeats. No dust clouds. No sign of Cal. And then gunfire. Far off, faint but unmistakable. She froze. The operator stepped outside. Sounded like it came from the ridge. She moved before he could say more, untying her horse and mounting in one swift motion. Her body screamed from exhaustion, but her heart wouldn't let her stay. Not now. Not when he might be out there dying. The trail back toward Black Ridge was cold and gray in the dawn. The sun cast long shadows, the wind dry and sharp. Every breath felt like a wager. She found the first sign at the edge of the creek, a broken branch, blood on stone. Then, further on, a body. Not Cal. One of Dole's men. Face twisted in fear, throat cut clean. His revolver still holstered. She pressed on. More signs. More blood. Tracks of a man running, limping. A clearing came into view, sparse trees, cracked earth, and in the center, a figure slumped against a boulder. Go. She slid from the saddle and ran. He looked up as she dropped beside him. His shirt was soaked with blood, a gash across his side, another on his arm. Told you I'd find you after, he rasped. You damn fool, she whispered. You should have stayed with me. If I had, they'd have killed you. Taken everything. I couldn't lose you. He coughed a laugh, teeth red. Don't plan on going yet. She pulled his arm around her shoulder and helped him up. He staggered but stood. Come on, she said. We made it. The wires are set. Langdon's waiting. They moved slowly, his weight pressing into her. Each step was pain, but each step was also defiance. An hour later, they reached Fox Hollow. The operator ran to meet them. News just came through, Langdon confirmed receipt. And more. Dole's men tried to intercept a courier out of Juniper Ridge. Failed. They're pulling back. Word is, indictments are already being written. Cal sagged against the wall, breathing hard. That fast. The operator grinned. The right words in the right hands, they travel like fire. Nora turned to Cal. You hear that? You did it. We did it. He nodded faintly, but his eyes began to close. No, she said, shaking him. You're not finished yet. I just need to rest. But he didn't rest. He collapsed. The operator caught him as she cried out, helping lay him on the porch. Blood soaked the boards beneath his back. His pulse was faint. We need a doctor, she screamed. We don't have one here, not anymore. Her hands pressed into the wound, blood warm beneath her fingers. Stay with me, Cal, she whispered, voice breaking. Please. His eyes fluttered open. You saved more than land, you know. Don't talk. Just breathe. You made me believe. I wasn't just a blade in someone else's war. You weren't. You're the man who cared when no one else did. He smiled, faint but real. That's enough for me. No, she whispered. It's not enough for me. He closed his eyes. For one terrible moment, the world went still. Then a breath. Shallow. But there. He was alive. The operator pressed a cloth against the wound. There's a military rail out of Vespers Ridge, 20 miles north. I can wire them. They'll have a doctor, maybe a surgeon. But we need to keep him breathing. I'll do it, Nora said, gripping Cal's hand. I'll stay with him. And she did. For 2 days she didn't sleep. She rode beside the medical cart that came with cavalry escort. She sat beside Cal as the doctor worked over him. She watched as life clung to him, stubborn and slow. And when the fever broke and his eyes opened days later in a clean white room in Yuma, the first thing he saw was her. You stayed, he said, voice hoarse. I'm not going anywhere. In the weeks that followed, everything shifted. News spread across the territory. Judge Langdon released the evidence and it spread like wildfire. Dole's empire, once feared, cracked wide open. Trials followed. Land was restored. Some men vanished. Others were dragged into daylight, snarling like cornered beasts. The people whispered about the woman who risked everything and the half-blood gunman who saved her. They called him a savage still, but with a different tone now. One laced with awe, with memory. One morning, after Cal had healed enough to stand, they walked the edge of the city together. The desert stretched beyond them, unchanged, eternal. I keep thinking, Nora said, about what you told me back in the ravine. That justice isn't something you ask for. It's something you bleed for. He looked at her. I still believe that. I do too. But maybe it's something you live for too. He smiled, the scars on his cheek pale in the light. What now? We ride, she said. Maybe not to fight. Maybe just to live. But we ride. They mounted, horses restless beneath them. As they turned toward the open land, Cal looked back once. The town faded behind him. Ahead, the dust rose in golden spirals. The West didn't forgive. It didn't forget. But sometimes, it gave you one last chance to become the kind of legend that mattered. They took it, and the dust never settled.